Hello, I'm Lucy Wall. I'm the Assistant Dean for Admissions at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health. My role in admissions is to work with prospective medical students and applicants. I also work with the admissions committee. But my favorite thing, I think, is to work as an advisor and therefore possibly work with you. What I'd like to talk to you about today is this whole process of applying to medical school, especially at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health, and what kinds of things that you want to think about as you're preparing to apply and actually applying. So I have a number of things, and I'd like to share them with you. First of all, I hope that if you're thinking about medical education that you have some idea of what medicine is. And I'll talk a little bit more about this and the fact that it's important to kind of check this out. You know, oftentimes you've had an experience as a patient or with a family member where a physician has been a very important part of your life and played an important role for you or someone that's near and dear to you. And then we begin to see what important roles these healthcare professionals play in our lives. Now, something else that I'll share with you at the outset is knowing that perhaps you are an engineering student and perhaps a biomedical engineering student, is that we do have many biomedical engineering students, graduates that apply to our program, and we think that our admissions committee thinks that you bring a unique skill set to medicine, and perhaps you do too, and that's why you're interested in medicine. But let's talk a little bit more then about what's the preparation for this. I like to think of preparation in two terms. I like to think about the fact that there's academic preparation and that there's also personal preparation. And in terms of academic, you can probably imagine what some of these things are, but you know, we're interested in people as physicians who have good communication skills, both verbal skills and written communication skills, people who are analytical and problem solvers. Somehow I think that's compatible with the whole idea of engineering. That you have a sound general education in the humanities and social sciences. And I know from working with biomedical engineering students that sometimes your curriculum demands things that don't focus as much on humanities and social sciences. But remember that those components are important in making you a well-rounded individual. It's important, I'm guessing that you kind of assume this, it's important that you're strong academically. And we do require that you have a bachelor's degree, and also you have to take the medical college admissions test. Now, how about minimum academic performance and being eligible to apply? Well, we require that you have an undergraduate GPA minimum of 2.8, which is fairly minimum, and you'll hear me say later that that's not really the level at which people get in, but we will look at individuals with GPAs at that level, and typically they will have had additional coursework, and so there's another record beyond the undergraduate record. MCAT scores, if you're familiar with the MCAT at all, or maybe not familiar, it's scored on in 3 areas, actually 4 areas, and scores can range from 0 to 15. We require minimum scores of 7 on verbal reasoning, 7 on physical sciences, and 8 in biological sciences. And there's a writing assessment. We don't require any certain score there. It's scored from L through T, and typically we'll see O, P, Q as the scores in that area for our applicants. Now, we require some specific science courses of all of our students coming in. We also say that you can have any major that you want. In fact, we encourage you to choose something that you're interested in. And so perhaps in this case, you've chosen engineering or biomedical engineering, and hopefully because you're interested in this. But in that process, we are going to look to be sure that you have a semester of general biology, a semester of an advanced biology course, and we usually think of that as upper level course 400 and above on this campus. We're going to see that you have 2 semesters of general or inorganic chemistry. By the way, on this campus, if you happen to take Chem 109, that does count for the 2 semesters. 1 semester of organic chemistry, and we don't require a lab with that. This is a change. It used to be 2 semesters, but we require just 1. We do, however, require a semester of biochemistry, 2 semesters of physics with lab, and I know that some engineering majors have taken statics and dynamics, and that can account for 1 semester of your physics. We require a semester of math. We recommend calculus. Probably most of you will have had calculus. And we also require a semester of statistics, and that's a new requirement. And that has to do with the fact that we're the School of Medicine and public health, and statistics feeds into this whole idea of public health and the epidemiology course that you'll have and the way that you'll look at information. The MCAT today is computer-based, and so it's given in a computerized format. This is a big advantage over the previous paper and pencil that was given 2 times a year, and so you'll find that there are many different dates for MCAT test administration, and I think that you'll find it fairly easy to access that. There is a key website where you can find a lot of information about the whole application process. I'll tell you right now, it's www.aamc.org, and within that site there will be a spot that'll take you to information about the MCAT. Now we've talked about academic preparation. Let's talk a little bit about personal preparation. And I like to break this furthermore into a couple of areas. One is activities and experiences. And you know, the physician is the person who has to kind of be a very well-rounded individual and be able to do many things, not only the academics, the science, but to relate easily and warmly to all people. Your patients, you need to be able to relate to your colleagues and all of the other members of the healthcare team. And so our admissions committee and physicians think that things such as leadership, work experience, research experience, community service, exposure to healthcare, to medicine, exposure to patient care, and then a whole variety of other things, be it athletic interests, fine arts, social action things, travel. We encourage all of these things, and we're very interested in learning about your personal background and your life experiences. You know, it's important that you think of yourself as a unique individual, and that when you make your application, that you help the readers understand who you are as a unique individual. So I encourage you not to make any assumptions about, well, this might be important to the committee, but maybe not that. All of it's important, and so let us know who you are. It is important that if you're making this application, that you share your understanding of what it is that you're wanting to do, what you're applying for. And so you're going to probably go through some processes that involve gathering information about medicine, that explore some things about medicine, maybe by participating in some clubs, some activities. Also, to have a sense of the challenges and the rewards that are a part of the profession, and some insight into patient care, so that should you come to medical education, that you're not going to be too surprised what that's all about, and you have some idea of, you know, what's the life of a physician like, and what is it like to take care of people and to be responsible for their care. So our admissions committee is really very insistent that you demonstrate some insight, and insight usually comes through exposure. Now, they're also interested in your personal qualities. Your sense of responsibility and reliability, your honesty and integrity, your capacity for self-improvement and how you're able to reflect and to self-direct, compassion and empathy, respect for yourself and for other people. Creativity is an important part of, I think, managing and coping in whatever world of work you're in. Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is really important and I think sustains us from day to day in whatever we're doing. Perhaps all of this wraps up into the idea of motivation. And so your motivation for medicine is something that I hope that you will think about and work on articulating, because that's an important component of this, not only in the application process, but also to sustain you, to understand why you are choosing this, and something to sort of ground you. So those are some things about the personal components of preparing for medical education. Now, how about some of the nuts and bolts of this? The application process is a big process. It's a long process. Typically, if you're the traditional kind of applicant, you're going to be making application to medical education during your senior year. You're probably going to start in the summer between your junior and senior year. You will have taken your MCAT by or about that time, and then you will be submitting your application. And once again, that website that I gave you, it takes you to the AMCAS application, the American Medical College Application Service, which is the centralized application service, and that's how you begin the process, and you submit through them. Then there's another phase to this process, or maybe several phases, but the next step is that you indicate through AMCAS what medical schools you'd like them to send your application to. Then when we, assuming that we would be one of those schools, when we get your application, excuse me, we look at it and take sort of a first pass glance at it to see that you've met minimum scores. And assuming that you have, then we'll invite you to submit our secondary application. And this information is specific to our school. And you would like each medical school that you're applying to do the same thing. So then you would complete the secondary application. That typically includes letters of recommendation and whatever else the school asks you for. We ask for an optional essay and an additional listing of your activities and life experiences. Once that's submitted and everything is complete, then our admissions committee will do a preliminary review, and from that they're going to decide who they would like to invite to interview. And of course then you hope that you are invited to interview, and once that has occurred and you've interviewed, then your application goes to the entire committee. And so you can see that there are many steps here, that it's really a year-long process, and applicants are applying a year in advance of when they want to enter. So right now, this is 2008, and we are reviewing applications for students wanting to enter in August of 2009. So I think that those are some of the sort of steps that are involved in the application process. Now, how does the selection process work? Well, I've talked a little bit about that, the fact that there's preliminary review, there's the interview invitation. Well, what's our committee looking for? Well, I've actually already talked about in the sense of advising you how to prepare. And so just to kind of go over that again quickly, the admissions committee is going to be interested in your academic performance, or I think of it sort of like your academic journey. And that is, what courses you've taken, what your grades are, what your grade trends are in science and other courses and overall. Perhaps the relative rigor of courses, relative rigor of major schools attended, that kind of thing. There may be times in your a time in your life when things haven't all gone so well, and so they're interested in correlating what's happened in your life with that academic record. So they really are viewing the journey of your life as a student. They're going to look at personal qualities, and these qualities are going to be reflected in things that you write, what your letter writers have written about you, your interviews. So they're going to be getting a sense of you as a person and how you relate to other people. They're also very interested in your activities, your life experiences, your background. You're going to be listing activities, actual things you participated in since high school. Now, it doesn't mean that things that came earlier in your life aren't important, but when the actual listing occurs, that's how it will be. Now, there may have been formative things that happened earlier, and sometimes a good place to bring those in is as part of an essay or optional statements or some other place within the application. They're interested in community service, achievements, special talents, and once again, your insight into medicine and patient care. So they're going to be looking at all of these things. They're going to be looking at how they perceive the relative merit of your application. And of course, they're looking for people who have an insight into medicine and academic predictors for success, personal qualities that will allow you to relate well to patients and others, and life activities that give you a breadth and depth of background and experience for life. So let's talk a little bit about our incoming class and who they are. One of the things that we find is that our class is fairly predictable from year to year in terms of academics. The mean grade point average of the entering class hovers right around 3.7 to 3.75. Mean MCAT scores total a little bit over 31, with about 10 on the verbal, with last year 10.3 in the physical sciences, 11.1 in biological sciences. And those tend to vary maybe a couple of tenths, but they're pretty constant also. P on the writing assessment. So I tell you this because I'd like you to have some sense so that you can measure perhaps your possibilities for success as an applicant. In 2008, our entering class was 163 students, and we do have to make more offers than that because everyone that we make an offer to won't choose us, so we know that. Our class is composed of 125 Wisconsin residents and 38 non-residents, and that goes to say that as the public medical school in this state, most of the places in our class go to residents of Wisconsin. We also have an MD-PhD program, or the Medical Scientist Training Program, and 8 students entered in that program. We had 13 students entering in our rural medicine track. The age range of our entering students was from 28 years of age to older than 38. Most of our entering students did major in biological or physical sciences, and more than half attended Wisconsin colleges and universities. So that gives you a little bit of sense of who are our students. Now, how many people apply? So let's talk a little bit about the applicant pool. And this is also 2008 data. There were about 675 Wisconsin residents who applied, about almost 2,600 non-residents, so you can see that the competition for a non-resident, as a non-resident, is really tough. For almost 3,300 total applications. And I anticipate that this applicant pool will be pretty much like this in 2009 and maybe for a few years. It will fluctuate with the demographics of our population. We draw students not only from UW-Madison, but as I said, from other Wisconsin schools. And then we do have a lot of Wisconsin residents who have done their undergrads from other schools in other states, just as an FYI. I mentioned that we have a rural medicine program, and if you happen to be an individual who is particularly interested in being in a rural area, that might be something you want to look at. It's the Wisconsin Academy for Rural Medicine. And you can always find more information about any of the things that I'm talking about, and especially some of these programs, if you go to the UW School of Medicine website, and I think that you can find that easily. Something else that's very much a part of the whole educational endeavor in the School of Medicine is that there is a dual MD, MPH, Master Public Health degree program, and you would actually make 2 applications for that. Originally, you would need to be admitted to the MD program, and then sometime after that, you may want to also do our 12-month program in public health. So that's just an option and something for you to know about. I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about the cost of applying to medical school, because that's something to think about. Application fees, there are application fees. Usually that primary application fee through AMCAS is $160 for the first school, and then $30 for each additional school. There are secondary application fees for every school, and they vary from about $25 to $100 per school. It's $56 at UW-Madison. And there can be other fees for transcripts, letters of recommendation, and so on. The MCAT currently costs $210, and then there can be other expenses such as guidebooks, preparation for MCAT, travel and overnight expenses for interviewing, and so it's something to think about. But I also encourage you at the same time that you're kind of adding up all those dollar amounts to think about this as an investment in your future. This is part of your education in many ways. Now, there's something else that's a part of the culture of giving care for other people and how we think about our caregivers and who they are as professionals. There are a few sort of legal considerations. In Wisconsin, we have what's called the caregiver background check, and it's a statute that says that we're going to do background checks for criminal records on people who care for others, and that includes physicians, includes medical students, and many others. But I'm just telling you about this so that you know that when the day comes that you apply, that these things are going to happen. You may also want to think about what it means to be a professional person and what your responsibilities are to yourself and to society along that line. You're going to find that many times you're going to be asked about legal and disciplinary actions that may have occurred within your life. So make choices that help you have a stellar record. Something else that we think about is, or that we invite you to think about, and that we do see within our applicants, is underage drinking violations, driving under the influence, and so on. And you know, when we see these, our committee thinks twice about them. So realize that as you are a student and enjoying some of the many things in life, that you want to make wise choices about how you do that and not have it affect you later. All in all, I'd like to encourage you to think about what are the rewards of being a physician. What are the rewards of caring for other people? Yes, there are responsibilities, and it is demanding, but there are also the rewards of what you can do with and for others. And also, I think the reward of learning and being a very competent care provider. So I hope this is helpful to you, and you're welcome to come and talk to us at the School of Medicine and Public Health if we can be of further assistance.